We are looking at Wootware, and for once in this series I'm going to build a bit of a more expensive computer. So obviously Wootware is a South African site, and so we will be just using Rand, but I will give you the dollar percentage, the dollar conversion if you want. If you are interested in seeing, the discrepancy between what things cost in a third world country as opposed to the USA. And it's interesting to sort of make the correlation as, what the prices are here as compared to everywhere else in the world. And 30,000 Rand equates to more or less $1,800 if I'm correct in my calculation there, but it's about $1,800. So it's an expensive computer. It's a sort of the beginning of premium, if I could put it that way. So this is the sort of computer where if you buy this computer, you want to be able to run the newest games at the best settings, but still at a frame rate that is not necessarily going to be high refresh rate at 4K. And the reason that I decided to do this today is because when I bought my computer almost 2.5 years ago now, I paid this amount for it, and I think this is the amount that most people pay for computers when they buy computers for premium reasons. For me, it's for work, as I am a video game designer, but for most people, it'll be for gaming or for, productivity tasks, such as using Blender, using Adobe stuff, whatever it might be. And so these are the sort of computers that can max out games, but also can be used for productivity reasons. But enough on why you would buy a computer like this. Let's talk about the computer itself. And for this budget, you can choose the entry level of the best, if I can put it that way. And it was the same back when I bought mine for 30,000 Rand. It's the same now. So starting off, I have gone with the newest generation of AMD chips, Zen 5 of course, and I've gone for the 9700X. Now, of course, the 9800X 3D is going to be a lot better, but for one, it's not in stock, and if it were in stock, it might be almost twice the price. So this is on special at the moment for 7,500 Rand, which is right around $450 or so. My dollar conversion isn't always perfect. I just try and do it in my head quickly. And I'm not sure what the dollar even is right now against the Rand. It might be something like 17 or 18 to 17 or 18 Rand per dollar. So keeping that in mind, that's sort of the price for this. So it's going to be around $450 or 7,500 Rand, which is, it's a lot of money for a CPU, but this is, as far as, consumer stuff goes, one of the best CPUs you can buy now. Now, I'm not talking about your Threadrippers, or I'm not really even talking about the 9800X 3D, because I think that's out of reach for even premium customers, if there is stock. But this CPU is going to be fantastic for gaming. I mean, it's actually overkill for gaming, to be honest. It has a 8-core 16-thread CPU, so it's up to 5.5 gigahertz on the boost clock, which is incredibly fast. I remember when breaking 4 gigahertz was big news back in the day. It has 8 megabytes of L2 cache, 640 kilobytes of L1 cache, and how much L3 cache does it have? 32 megabytes. So this is something that hasn't gotten that much bigger in the next couple of years, but this is something that sort of made a big jump when Ryzen was announced the first time back in like 2018 or even before that. And so I think what really gets better is the performance of the cores themselves. And so, this is better than the previous generation, which is better than the previous generation. But Zen 5 chips are all going to be really good and really modern, so there's not too much to worry about if you have one of those. And of course, this also makes the jump to DDR5, and according to this, up to 5,600 megahertz of DDR5 RAM. And it also supports PCI Express version 5. And one thing that's quite impressive with this is the 65 watt power draw. That's quite low for a CPU that is as performant as this, but these Zen 5 CPUs are really good when it comes to power usage. So we're going to be putting this on a Gigabyte GA-B650M motherboard. Now, the B series motherboards used to be not, I don't want to say not the best, but they were relatively budget boards. Now it's come to a place where these boards are, when you compare them to your sort of your ROGs or your Prime, some of the best Asus Prime boards or whatever else is out there that are some of the most premium boards, then this isn't going to be up to that standard. But paying 3,000 Rand for a motherboard is still a lot of money. And this board is quite limited. It is, of course, a smaller board, being a Micro ATX board. But in terms of our needs, it's going to be fine. And the reason I chose this is also just availability, because this is one of the few boards that Wootware actually has in stock at the moment that is within the price spec. So that also comes into it. But it does have 4 DIMM slots. It has a 5th gen PCI Express slot, a 4th gen NVMe slot, and 2 NVMe slots. And apart from that, there's not that much more that you need. It is basic. You'll see some of the rear I/O stuff is missing. It doesn't have a lot of USBs. It doesn't have a lot of options, for output there. But in terms of just being a basic functional board, it's fine. I would like not to pay this much for it, 2,800 Rand. That's around $180, $170. But it will do the job. But I think this is the kind of thing where I would probably get this from somewhere else at the moment because there's no special on it. Or I would just wait till something comes into stock that is cheaper or on special because there are better options. This is just what was available in the moment. But these B650M boards are pretty decent. Moving on to the RAM, we are going to use Team Group. It's a very long code name there that I'm not gonna even say. But this is 32 gigs of DDR5 6000 megahertz RAM, CL30, and it is obviously XMP enabled. For AMD, it's the Expo profile, and that will work fine with this motherboard. And there's not too much to say about this. It looks nice. It looks professional. I like the way it looks, just blacked out. It's not overkill. It's not RGB or anything like that, and it's just a good, reliable memory. And that's sort of what I'm here for. That's the kind of thing that I like. Team Group make decent stuff, decent memory, RAM, SSDs. And I've never had a problem with any of their stuff, and so I would definitely recommend this. And this is just going to be some good middle of the road RAM. Sorry about that. That is not going to break the bank, coming in at 2,300 Rand on special, saving 500 Rand, and that is right around about $150, $140 around there. The big one is, of course, the graphics card. Now, I wanted to go for the 4070, but this is about 1,000 Rand cheaper than the 4070, and I believe it beats it in performance. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I do believe it does. And this is sort of the perfect card going into 2025 for high refresh rates, high scale, high resolution gaming. Of course, the RX 7900 has 16 gigs of GDDR6 RAM. It has a 256-bit bus width, and it is a PCI 4 card. Now, this card is, as I said, sort of right in the sweet spot for performance. Now, it is expensive, coming in at 12,800 Rand, but it is on sale. You are saving 3,300 Rand. And as you can see here by Steve, and I don't know his name, but it is a recommended card, and I do think it's going to challenge your 4070s, maybe even close to the 4080, and it will be perfect for high refresh rate 2K, relatively high refresh rate 4K, even the most recent AAA games. And it's just a good card. I like the way it looks as well. This is a Tough Gaming card, but it is the newest rendition of Tough Gaming. I have some tough gaming stuff in my PC, some motherboards and stuff, but they keep changing the look every generation, and this looks quite nice. It's not as robust, it's a little bit more refined and sleek as the tough gaming range gets better. And overall, I think it's a nice looking card. I love Asus's products. It's always very premium, and this does seem to have a BIOS switch, so you can turn down the fan speeds on that. That's kind of stupid to me. I've never really understood why they do that. I mean, I understand why they do it, but it's just not something that I ever used. And overall, just a nice looking card. It's quite big. No, it's sort of deceiving on this, but it's quite a unit. And it has some really good performance with some premium parts, some premium materials as well. So perfect for gaming, this card. It's going to be a beast, and this PC will destroy, and it will be perfect for 4K gaming. Moving on to storage, I've gone with a Western Digital 1 terabyte Gen 4 PCI NVMe. So not too much to say on this. Sort of just make sure that the brand is recognizable, that the product itself has good reviews, and that it's if you care about the way it looks, just make sure it looks nice. I don't really care about that. In this motherboard, you will have a cover for one of them that covers the way it looks anyway, so it doesn't really matter too much. And apart from that, just make sure you have enough storage, but these are quite expensive, coming in at 1,200 Rand, which is right around $60, saving almost 600 Rand. To talk about the price for the GPU, 12,800 Rand, and that is right around $700, so it's very expensive in South Africa to buy new GPUs. My USD prices may be a bit off. I'm just doing the calculations quickly in my head, but it's more or less. Moving on to the cooler now. With the new generation of AMD chips, you don't get a cooler included. It does say that here. So be mindful of that and be sure to buy a cooler with it. Now, you don't have to worry about the cooler too much. Again, like with the storage, make sure it's a good brand name that you recognize, that your friends can tell you, okay, I've used their products, it's good. If you care about the way that it looks, just make sure it looks nice. Read some reviews. It's not too difficult. And for this one, I've chosen this white one because it is in stock. I need to choose parts that are in stock. If it were for me, I would do the black. I like the way that looks more. But regardless, it doesn't really matter. And what I like about Wootware is they sort of have these references. So Gamers Nexus is obviously Steve's channel. Well, not just him, all of them. But they sort of make it easy for you. So you can just go take a look at the video, what was said about it, the price and all of that. And yeah, it helps a lot. This does have an ARGB fan, so you can choose the color on it. And it is 120 millimeters. And apart from that, I mean, there's not too much to say on these things. It is AM5 and AM4 supported, and it does have a header for motherboard ARGB pins, which will just connect to your Gigabyte motherboard in this case. And Gigabyte do have their own software for RGB controls. So yeah, just make sure it looks nice, make sure that the reviews are good, and that's all there is to it really. Make sure it's compatible, of course. Price wise, this is coming in at 1,000 Rand, which is not cheap for a CPU cooler, but this was one of the only ones in stock that wasn't like an AIO or above 2,000 Rand. So I just chose this one. It does come with two fans actually, so that, I mean, that makes a difference. It's and these are quite premium fans. But 1,000 Rand is a lot for a cooler. Now you are saving 235 Rand, and 1,000 Rand is $170 or $180. No, it's not. That doesn't make any sense. It's I just messed up the math in my head there a lot. Why am I struggling to do this? It should be simple. Let's take a look on the calculator. It is $55. I don't know why I spazzed out there. Anyway, and this is what I mean about pricing. So on Steve's video, it says $27.71. Here it is twice that. So it's interesting to see how pricing differs. but I have seen some products being a lot cheaper here than what they are in America, so it is interesting. For the case, I always say this, you should just go with whatever is going to be best for you in your use case, and you should probably just buy this in person at the place that is closest. Because the prices for cases, I mean, it's 1,000 to 2,000 rand for a good case. Now that's just, it's sort of standardized a lot. And so in this one, you do save 550 rand. It is a nice looking case. It's not that case, so I'm not sure why they put that here, but yeah, it's a bit strange. Maybe it's in another case in the video. But yeah, the Montec XRA RGB, you do get 3 ARGB fans with it. It's a really nice looking case. It looks a lot like the Deepcool case that I have. You get some decent I/O connectivity. You get a lot of PCI brackets that are not breakout, so they are a little bit more premium, and you can just remove those. And I think the case is made of some pretty good metals. I mean, the paint job looks nice, and I have seen this case in person, so I know it looks really nice. It's a nice case. Now, the white one isn't available at the moment. I just chose the white one to go with the CPU cooler, but the black one I like a lot. I like the black look more. But yeah, regardless of that, this is a good option, but there are many options, and you don't have to choose this. Choose what looks nice to you. But to be honest, cases are all looking very similar now. There isn't a lot of innovation being done, because the fish tank thing was the innovation recently, and now everyone's just copying that. So it's already the same. They all have good ventilation. It's all moving in sort of a generally good direction, but it's not very... there's not a lot of variation right now. Something like this would be fine. So if you want to go cheap, these Raid Maxes are fine. They are static RGB though. These FSP cases are quite good, a little bit more discreet, a little bit more incognito. But whatever you like, just go with what you like. And they, like I said, 1,000 to 2,000 rand is all you really need to pay. This is the Montec from the video, but this one is overkill, and I really don't like the way it looks. It actually looks like a fish tank, which I don't like. But apart from that, yeah, just choose a case that you like. This one is a nice one. It has ARGB fans. It looks good. It's fish tanky, but it's not too fish tanky, so it's a good option. And Montec do make good stuff. I've used them a lot recently. So yeah, but like I said, probably don't ship. This isn't a shipping video. This is an America video, but don't ship cases, because they will get destroyed and you will pay a lot for shipping, because they are heavier than the rest of the components. So just go and buy one. It's a lot easier. Power supply wise, I always say the same thing. If you have to ship it, just buy it locally. Just go to a store near you and get one. Now, of course, I realize that Deepcool are banned in America, but it's a good thing that this is South Africa. So this Deepcool, this is the same one that I have in my system, and so I can heartily recommend it. It's a good power supply. It's not the best power supply in the world, but it looks nice. It's performance. I've never had issues with it, and so it's easy to recommend. This is the 750 watt unit. Just always make sure that the amount of power is more than what is needed for the computer, to always have that little bit of headroom. For this PC, I would probably go for an 850 power supply, maybe a super flower or something like that, but this is what was in stock, and that's why I've chosen this one. But this one should be fine for this PC. It is 1,600 rand, so right around $90, which is quite expensive, but this is what power supplies cost in South Africa, and you are saving 400 rand. Not too much to be said with this. It's sort of the same as with the case and with the storage. Go for something that has good reviews, that people tell you are good, and that you know, something that, I mean, this has good reviews, 4.5 stars. I mean, that's fine. Anything above like 3.5 stars is going to be fine. And just make sure it's compatible. The size is important. I mean, for this case, it's fine because it's a full ATX case. But if you are going small form factor, be sure that if you need a specific form factor, you are buying it. But Wootware's support are really good, so if you have any questions, just pop them an email. They've always been friendly to me, and I've never had any issues with them, so it shouldn't be an issue. Okay, so summarizing the build. This is another thing that I really like about Wootware. They do have this PC builder sort of thing, and you can even give them a range of price, and then they sort of build a PC for you. Maybe in a different video we can test that out and see how good that works. So like I said, for the case, for the CPU cooler, for the power supply and for the SSD, just go with what works for you, what is available. And for the case, CPU cooler and power supply, if you have to ship those, maybe just try and get them locally. So going over the parts quickly, we've gone for, that is not what I chose. We've gone for the Montec XR, which is a really nice one. We've gone for the Ryzen 9700X, which is going to be a beast. The CPU cooler is a Arctic Freezer 36, is ARGB. Motherboard, Gigabyte GA Bix B650M D3HP. It's going to be fine, not the best in the world, but it'll be fine. Memory, Team Group, 32 gigs, 6000 megahertz, CL30. Graphics card, we have gone for the RX 7900. Now, I mean, it's a lot of money. You know, you can build a PC that'll play 2K games for just that money. But if you are talking some of the best parts, some of the best performance, you have to spend the money. So the graphics card is the Asus RX 7900 GRE Tough Gaming OC. And then the power supply is a Deepcool 750 watt 80 plus bronze power supply. You might not get that everywhere anymore, but choose whatever works best for you. And then for the SSD, just a normal Western Digital 1TB Gen 4. So that's the PC. It's a beast. It'll destroy games, and let me prove it. Let's see how it does. Stay with me. So once again, I couldn't find a video with the exact specs that I had chosen for this computer, but I did find something with a previous gen Ryzen 7700X, which is going to be the closest to this when you talk about previous gen, but you might lose a little bit of performance, but it's not going to be massive in terms of the performance change that will come from, you know, the CPU in the video as to the one that we have chosen for our build. The GPU is the RX 7900 GRE, which is the same one that we had chosen, and the RAM usage is at 16 gigs right now, 51 FPS. This is 1440p native, so no upscaling, no AI technology, max settings. And you know, this game, Hellblade 2, is notoriously difficult to run, and so I feel like this is an okay performance considering, you know, what a difficult game to run this is. Because of the amount of mega scans and stuff that they use in this game, it is quite the beast to run. But we are at 1440p max settings, and we are getting around 55. So not the best result, but for a single player game, definitely playable. 4K, I think it'll be okay. So this is FSR at 4K, and it's about the same. It's about 53 FPS, but that is with 4K FSR enabled. Ghost of Tsushima, 1440p native max settings. This is getting 96 FPS, and that is quite a good result. Now remember that we are using the CPU that is the previous generation to the one that we have chosen, so you could add a couple of FPS realistically, depending on the scenario, the resolution, and the game. But this is a good result, getting around 100 for Ghost of Tsushima at max settings, 1440p. At 4K, around 80. So yeah, that's quite a good result, and of course it's a fantastic looking game. Helldivers is of course a hot game right now, and at max settings, 1440p, we are getting around 90 FPS. So that's pretty good. I mean, that's considering we are not using any upscaling or anything like that. I think it's quite a good result, and it's a very smooth result, of course. And of course it's a good looking game, and you know, max settings, can't complain too much, getting right around 100 FPS, so it's a good result. 4K for Helldivers, getting around the 70s, still more than playable. I would be happy to play at 75, 70, you know, 70 to 80. That's 100% fine, even for an FPS game, in my opinion. So fantastic result there. The new Horizon Forbidden West, well, it's not new anymore, but the newest one, getting around 80 at 1440p max settings. 4K, getting around 71. So far the results have been quite good. Alan Wake 2, quite difficult to run. We are getting around 55 to 60. No ray tracing. Of course, this is an AMD card, so you can ray trace, but it's probably not recommended. 1440p max settings, and we are right around that 60 mark. So this game I probably wouldn't push to 4K, but nevertheless, let's see how it does. It seems better. Oh, but it is FSR. So when playing in 4K, you will probably want to turn on FSR because you don't want to play at 50 FPS when you have a PC that costs you $1,600, $700, $800, cost you 30,000 Rand. So yeah, switch on FSR for 4K, and it'll look fine still because it is 4K at the end of the day. The Last of Us, 1440p, getting around 70. That's very good, and of course it's a fantastic looking game. And this card does have 16 gigs of VRAM, and that's going to come in handy for these kinds of games. And I mean, so far we've seen some of the most difficult games to run. At 4K, it might be a bridge too far, getting 50s to 70s. I mean, it's playable, but I would probably just stick to 2K for this game, because even with FSR 50, I probably just would stick to 2K, to be honest. Plague Tale Requiem, getting around 83 at max settings, no ray tracing at 1440p. I played this game, I finished it. This was probably the best looking game I've ever seen. Now, of course, that is due to your sort of mega scans and stuff like that, but still, it just looks amazing. At 4K, getting right around 60. And the thing about this game is okay to play at 55, because I played it at 45. So this game is the kind of game where it's more story driven more than anything, and so you kind of just look at the environment. There's not a lot of fast action scenes happening, so this is the kind of game that you probably would be okay to play like this. Cyberpunk at 1440p, this is for a lot of people still the benchmark, and we are at around 70 to 80 max settings, 1440p native. 4K might be a little bit difficult. Yeah, 45, 50. And so the theme so far with this build is that while it's perfect for AAA gaming at 2K, 4K is pushing it a little bit too far in most cases. You probably will need to go for the XTX version of this card, or for something like a 4080 or something like that. Let's do one more here. We'll do Hogwarts. 82 at max settings, 1440p native. That's not too bad. I have seen better. I know this game doesn't necessarily love AMD cards. At 4K, around 60 to 70, so that's pretty good. It's not too bad. I mean, it is a single player game, but it is a fast-paced game, you know, the action and stuff like that, as you can see. We'll do one last one. Let's do Jedi Survivor. This is a game that I'm currently busy playing, and we are doing around 72 at 1440p with baked RT. The thing is, my 3070, which is at this point 5+ years old, runs this game better than this, I'm pretty sure, at 1440p at max settings. So maybe it's an AMD thing in this case, but to me this is quite a disappointing result. And at 4K, we are still around that 60 mark. So not the best result in this, and this kind of showcases what I'm talking about in general. But for the most part, this PC is going to be a beast at 2K, and it'll be okay at 4K for most games, but it will struggle with some of the most difficult games to run at 4K. So I think the thing is, the graphics card in this is a fantastic graphics card, there's no doubt. But the problem is, a lot of these games, the technology that they use now and the way that the engines are set up, some of them really like NVIDIA, just because of the way that the drivers work and the technology that it has. But a lot of them, you know, it doesn't matter in a lot of games which one you use, but in some of them, something like a 4080 will be a lot better. But a 4080 is going to be a lot more money than this. But perhaps even a 4070 Ti might be a better choice than this in some instances. But for the most part, for 30,000 Rand, for about $1,700, I would be happy with this computer. I think the gap between a $800 computer and a $2,000 computer isn't as big as it should be, because with an $800 computer you could get now of course I'm talking second-hand parts, so maybe it's not a fair comparison, but you could pick up like a 3080 and a decent 8-core CPU that's going to be a couple of generations old, but it'll challenge something like this. But okay, it isn't fair to compare second-hand parts to new parts. But the thing is, when you're the consumer, it doesn't matter what's fair. It matters what you can get out of your money. And lately, there's been a lot of snide comments about budget gaming on the channel. A lot of people sort of saying that. The one comment in particular annoyed me, where the guy said, if you are shopping for a $500 computer, you should get a different job. And I think that's such a gatekeepy kind of way to think. I would never think like that, because people are in different stages of life, and that doesn't mean that you don't deserve to game. Someone that I know recently had to sell his computer to pay rent, and that kind of thing sucks. Not everyone is well off. That's just the reality. So let's not gatekeep people that, I don't think gatekeep's the right word, but you know what I mean. Let's not like withhold fun from pleasure from people that don't have the funds to sort of pay for expensive things. And that's why technologies like FSR and DLSS, why these things are sort of important, because they allow people to game when they maybe don't have the newest systems or the most expensive systems. But this tangent is neither here nor there. I don't really know why I went off on this tangent. These things just annoy me sometimes. I think gaming should be for everyone, regardless of whether you can afford it. I think, strides have been made to make that closer to being reality, and I think that's a good thing. But at the end of the day, if you do have 30,000 Rand to buy a computer with, if you do have $1,700, $1,800, this will not be a bad choice. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you in the next one. Cheers.